and knows God. He who does not love does not know God, for God is love. God is love. Love one another, for love is of God. With all thy soul loves is born of God and knows God. He who does not love does not know God, for God is love. God is love. God is love. God is love. For love is love. With all his soul loves is God is born of God and knows God. God is love. God is love. Does not lose love. For God is love. 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 With love is love. With God his soul loves is God is born of God and knows God. God is love. God is love. Does not lose love. For God is love. God is love. God is love. Someday, peace and joy and happiness. No more someday, peace and joy, someday.
Trumpets will sound and all the dead shall arise. We'll walk the streets of gold. Someday, 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 someday. Peace and joy and happiness. No more sorrow. Someday. Gotta be ready when he calls my name. Gotta be ready when he calls my name. Gotta be ready when he calls my name. Someday, trumpets will sound and all the dead shall arise. We'll walk the streets of gold. Someday,
Peace and joy and happiness. No more someday, someday. Peace and joy and happiness. No more someday, 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 someday.
someday.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's a little bit different. Past couple Sunday evenings that we've had something. It's been pre-recorded and put up on YouTube. But I actually lost track of time. You get caught up doing laundry and catching up with groceries and all that good stuff, and that tends to happen some way, somehow. But anyway, so we're doing this live. We're stepping out for the time being from the Bible Basics topic, just because this has been something that has been on my mind. I think this is a phrase that, to a degree, we're all familiar with, whether it's because we've heard someone say it, or we've said it ourselves, or we've thought it, or whatever the case may be, and that is, what you see is what you get. A lot of times used in the context of someone that is perhaps being called out for something, and they say, you know, you shouldn't be surprised. You knew who I was when when you met me, when you asked me to do this, or when you married me, or whatever the case was. What you see is what you get. And to a degree, I think there's a grain of truth in that statement. There's a grain of this is an honest statement to make. I am who I am, and in regards to our lives as Christians, I think there is a little bit of this is an honest statement. We are who we are. I am unique to you. I am not the same person as my wife, who is not the same person as her sister, who is not the same person as her coworker. So I am who I am. What you see, to a degree, is what you get. There are some things about ourselves that are just are, because God saw fit to make us in the unique ways that we are made, fearfully and wonderfully. However, I do take issue with this attitude. This attitude of what you see is what you get, because in three ways, and let's go ahead and jump right into it. In the first place, there's the problem with what you see is what you get attitude is that it is prideful, not humble. Now, if you're going to be a Christian, if you're going to wear the name of Christ, if that's who you're trying to be, then this is not for you. We are called to be a humble people. We are to model ourselves after Jesus, who spent his life, spent his ministry lifting other people up and trying to set that example for us, reaching out to those who are lower than him in order to bring them up to his level, descending, spending his time with the sinners, right? And in 1 Peter 5, verse 5, Peter's writing to his audience, and he says, "Likewise, you who are younger, be subject to the elders. Clothe yourselves, all of you, with humility towards one another. For God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble." He specifically calls out the younger, but I think this is a lesson for us to all learn. If you're younger, be subjected to the elders. Now, this could mean in the church setting, be subject to your elders, but just in a life thing. If I'm younger, I need to humble myself and learn from those that have more experience from me. There are a number of people within our own congregation that are so much more experienced in certain ways than I am. And so I need to humble myself. I need to pop that balloon of pride and trust in them and learn at their feet. Clothe yourself, Peter says. Clothe yourself. As if it is not just like a blue shirt that I'm wearing right now, but it is humility that you see when you look at me. Clothe yourselves, all of you, with humility towards one another. Why? He answers that question. Because if you want a good relationship with God, you will do this. Because God opposes the proud, and he gives grace to the humble. If you have a what you see is what you get attitude, you are not humble. You are prideful. In the second place, the problem with the what you see is what you get attitude is that it assumes that there's no room for growth. If I am the way I am, that is an excuse. That excuses me from being someone more, from being someone better. If what you see is what you get, that's it. That's my limit. I've reached my peak. There's nothing more. And truthfully, it's a sad statement because it limits ourselves. It assumes there's no room for growth. Ephesians 4:15 through 16. Rather, speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in every way into him. Pause there. Right off the bat, Paul is saying that regardless of where you are, there is a moment where you've got to step it up. It doesn't matter how long you've been a Christian. It doesn't matter how little you've been a Christian. It doesn't matter how old you are in life, or how young you are in life, or how rich or how poor, or male or female. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you are attempting to better yourself. So, speaking truth in love, we are to grow up in every way. Every way, not just the ways that we're good at already, but that's something that we have a tendency to do sometimes, right? Is stay in our comfort zones. If I go over here, that's something that I'm not very good at. But Paul's calling on us to seek out those areas that we're not very good at. Maybe I'm not a good prayer. Step into that. Grow into Him. Maybe I'm not a good preacher. Step into that. Grow into Him. Maybe I'm just not good at sharing the gospel. Grow into it. Learn to be. Grow in every way into Him who is the head, into Christ, from whom the whole body joined and held together by every joint with which it is equipped. And listen to this part. When each part is working properly, it makes the body grow so that it builds itself up in love. When we're doing our part, when we are stepping outside of our comfort zone and we're stretching our comfort zones and we are growing ourselves and we are teaching ourselves and we're teaching one another and we're staying humble and we're learning from one another and we are willing to grow, it's not just us who are growing. It's the entire body of Christ. Perhaps in numbers, sure, but more specifically in quality and in relation with one another. We're growing together. We're growing stronger. It's the trees that grow their roots together that are hardest to knock down. But if we're staying in our own little worlds and we're only focusing on the things that we're already good at, we're not growing, and therefore the body is not growing. If the body of Christ isn't growing, then what hope is there for Trenton, Georgia? The what you see is what you get attitude assumes that there's no room for growth. And then in the third place, it leaves no room for holiness. The problem with what you see is what you get is, in large part, excusing my unholiness. It says, I am here, this is me, and there's nothing else I can do, kind of building off of, there's no more growth for me, and that includes the spiritual area. So what you see is what you get, that's it. We by nature are unfortunately an unholy creature. We tend to shy away from what is right, and we tend to shy into the things that we like best, and that makes us comfortable. And unfortunately, a lot of times, it is unholy things. It is things that are not of God. It is not set apart and attuned to God. And so when we say what you see is what you get, I am the way I am, and that's just it. That's just saying, I don't need holiness. I am the best that I can be. But Peter says, flipping back over to 1 Peter 1 verse 15 and 16, he says, but just as he who called you is holy, be holy in all you do. For it's written, be holy because I am holy. The what you see is what you get attitude says, that's enough. I am what I am, and that's good enough. But God says, no, that's not enough. God says, I am holy, and I want you to be with me for eternity. So be holy yourself. Be holy because I'm holy. We've got to truly keep an eye on ourselves sometimes. Because if we're not careful, we turn into prideful people. We turn into people who say, what you see is what you get. I am sufficient. I am enough. It says, there's nothing more to me. There's nothing more that I can be. And it says, I don't need to be holy. I am good enough as I am. Tonight, I want to encourage you to truly dissect yourself for a minute. Truly give yourself a once-over. Do you have this attitude sometimes? You know what? That's good enough. I've fallen short because that's just who I am. What you see is what you get. You should have known that before you asked me to do you this favor. You should have known that going into this marriage. You should have known that going into this friendship or this relationship or whatever the case may be. What you see is what you get. May have a little bit of a grain of truth just in the fact that God makes us unique. However, we cling to that and we focus only on that. We separate ourselves from God with pride and with a desire, or with a lack of a desire to grow, and with a lack of holiness. Now, I hope you all have a great week. I hope you don't get frozen into your homes, whatever the case may be. And if there's anything that we can do, at the very least, that we can pray for you, please be sure to reach out and let us know that. But until then, we love you.